Hi everyone, and thanks for tuning in yet again. Today, I am very fortunate to be chatting with the founder of ValueMachine.io and a colleague and friend of mine from AWS, James Hurliman, who, he has been up to some very interesting stuff lately with his latest endeavor, and I figured that it will be a fantastic time to sit down and to chat a little bit about, so what's going on with the platform and how it came to be, right? So here we are. And hello, James. So how's it going?
Hey, good. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
And so first of all, I guess from what we were chatting previously, so I guess mostly the inspiration to start a side project, a side hustle, just came from the fact that, well, so many people have to spend time at home lately. So first of all, how the lockdown treating you, and how did the idea came to be? How did you connect both of those things, the fact that we were in lockdown and the fact that you wanted to create a paper trading app?
Yeah, the inspiration kind of came from well, I guess a lot of it rides on COVID. I was kind of a little bit dabbling in trading options around March, just kind of figuring things out a little bit, watching Wall Street bets and stuff like that. And then COVID happened, and it's okay, we're going to be in free fall for a little bit so I can make some money off of this. And then started trading some options, and I made some money, and then I lost some more money on oil, thinking that was going to come back. Super happy with USO.
Yeah.
But I lost some money, and I was I should probably practice this. And I was looking around at paper trading apps, and all the brokerages have them, but I didn't really like the interfaces, and it was just kind of a hassle. There's a lot of restrictions on them. So I was I could just make my own. This doesn't need to be as complicated as they're making it. So I went ahead and just made my own. And that's kind of the story, the inspiration. But as far as in general, how lockdown is treating me, it's actually I don't know, a lot of people are saying this sucks, I'm bored. And this has actually been kind of my prime time.
Oh, yeah.
It kind of sucks to say, but I know a lot of people are having a really bad time, for everybody who's out of a job or actually got COVID or whatever. But I just kind of don't really leave the house now, and I just program. And then every once in a while I'll get bored and be I should leave the house. And then remember oh yeah, nobody's leaving their house, but this is kind of fine. Just programming all the time has been kind of cool.
Yeah, not only we have to make the most of time, but actually, why not? Why not pick up a side hustle like that if you actually have so much free time to if one has so much free time to oneself, right? When you mentioned that putting money into oil because there was this expectation that it was gonna bounce back up. Yeah, I can relate. I know how it felt. It is something that I think that soon enough one understands that you win some, you lose some. So that's how it is. Eventually you make up those investments in something else. But anyway,
yeah. I'm gonna put my glasses back on. I thought I didn't like the glare on before, but now my eyes are kind of squinting when I'm looking at the screen, and there's kind of lights coming back at me. So I'm okay, I'm just gonna wear glasses now.
Yeah, but that's cool. So I can definitely relate about the fact that one can hit their stride in lockdown. And however, you told me that you were acquainted with trading previously, prior to this. So how long have you been at this? What's your familiarity with stock options trading and stock trading?
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't know, there's kind of a big jump between stocks and options. I think most of the general public understands what a stock is, just a small fraction of a company. And everyone kind of has that notion. People have split checks before. People understand what fractions are. This is not mind-blowing stuff. If you have a little bit of it and the company's value goes up, you can make some money. If it
Mm-hmm.
goes down, you lose some money.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I guess I had been like trading stocks like very passively. Um, my portfolio for like years was just like a total joke. I think like 2011 or something like that, 2012, I just put all of my savings into Domino's Pizza and then just kind of
Mm-hmm.
like let it ride.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think like, I mean, it was awesome though. Like it has made
Yes.
like a ton of returns. Everyone laughed. I'm like, dude, that garlic crust though, you have to trust that.
A
Um,
garlic bread savings right there.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Um, and then I was trading like a little bit more actively on crypto for a while. Mostly just kind of buy and hold on Ether. I didn't really get it too much into like the day trading or um, like all the pump and dump stuff for like the shit coins and altcoins.
Yeah.
I just kind of observed for the most point, but then like the options started uh, becoming in vogue, I guess, around like the beginning of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I was like, yeah, let's check this out. And then so really kind of got involved with options around March and just looked up how it was mostly just like YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Kamikaze Cash is one that I really love.
Yeah.
I've actually been reaching out to him and like trying to get like a collab going with him or something like that.
Nice.
Um, Mikey Millions, if you're listening, hit me up. Uh, that's it's been like pretty short as far as like my education on stocks, but it's been pretty diligent like investigation into that realm. And I had a little bit of experience also with just kind of like financial programming. I had taken this class from Georgia Tech on machine learning for trading, and that
Mm-hmm.
was kind of one of the original inspirations for what Value Machine would be. Is kind of like you can. I was going to make all these like trading bots,
Mm-hmm.
and they would just have different strategies, and you could kind of see like the bots and how they're doing, and then you can like you know see if you can beat them or whatever, or maybe like you make your own bots or something like that. There's going to be like a
Mm-hmm.
library of technical analysis
Mm-hmm.
charts or indicators like simple moving average, exponential moving average.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think like that still it could be on the roadmap one day,
Mm-hmm.
but right now I was just kind of like, shit, I've spent so much time making this. Like, let's just get it out there and see if people like this at all.
Mm-hmm.
And people have been pretty happy about it. They've been signing up every time I post about it on Reddit or wherever people um, sign up in like decent numbers, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think I've found like product market fit, and like I can
Mm-hmm.
still think about making new features in the future, but the trading bots is kind of like, I don't really need that right now. People are
Mm-hmm.
pretty happy with just a paper trading app. It's like not such a hassle to sign up for as like any of the other brokerages.
Yeah, but great stuff though, because that's pretty bleeding edge stuff. To actually come up with some kind of automated trading kind of solution. So, but by the way, something that I would like to touch on, I guess, maybe for edification of the audience, just briefly though.
Yeah.
But what do you mean with options trading? How is it different from stock trading?
Yeah. So options trading is there's like stocks are equities, so it's just like something that is
Mm-hmm.
you hold equity. It is like ownership of a company,
Mm-hmm.
and that's not going to go away. These options are derivatives.
Mm-hmm.
So there's other derivatives too, like futures and stuff, but these are just one type of derivative. They're basically just contracts. It is just like
Mm-hmm.
a quid pro quo, like you give somebody money or somebody gives you money in exchange for this contract. So it's a financial vehicle that makes a promise. And
Mm-hmm.
for puts and calls, those are like the kind of building blocks, and you can construct like more elaborate strategies based off of those. Um, but it's just a promise to buy or sell 100 of one stock. Like one contract is always like
100 stocks.
Yeah, 100. It controls or speaks for 100 stocks, and one of those is a promise to either buy or sell 100 stocks at a particular price. So the strike price. Basically, it's just a really leveraged way of trading. So you can expose yourself to more risk and possibly get more reward. So, like, let's say you buy there's a stock and it's a Alfredo stock and it's at $100 and then it goes up by 1%. So now it's at $101. If you had taken all your money and bought stocks of that, you would be up 1% also. If you were to have bought some call options though, and it went up 1%, like you could stand to make a lot more money. There's a bunch of other factors in that, like time to expiry and the theta and what the strike price is. But, you could make a lot more money or you could lose it all. Like a lot of these options expire worthless. So it's kind of a casino in there.
Yeah, so it's basically paying a certain premium to have the chance to purchase a stock or a contract at a certain price.
It's like a lottery ticket kind of. So if you are buying these, like, imagine going to the gas station and you buy like a scratch ticket or something like that. There's no way you could lose money if you bought a scratch ticket, or like you could lose what you paid for the scratch ticket and that's it. Like you buy the scratch ticket and then it's like maybe it costs you $5 and then maybe you win something and maybe you don't. And that's like buying puts or calls. And the inverse of that, if you're selling it, you're on the hook if that becomes worth something. Like if you sell somebody a scratch ticket and they scratch it and it's like, oh, this one's worth like $1 million, you're on the hook to pay them $1 million now. If it is worthless, like, cool, you just keep their $5. But if they win something with it, then you could be on the hook. So you have to cover those with cash, or you can short the stock, or you can buy the stock, depending upon what options you're looking at. But
exactly. Yeah. So, well, and thus your desire to dive deeper into options trading, that was what led you to develop valuemachine.io, which, by the way, I've been very happy about that project, and I think that it's looking pretty nice. So great going on Value Machine, by the way. So yeah, so I was thinking maybe I would love to chat a little bit about it, about your path actually coming up with Value Machine. Let's begin talking perhaps about the stack. How did you decide on a certain tech stack for that site?
I think like a lot of developers just kind of like choosing what they're familiar with, and that was basically my strategy. So React and Redux on the front end, I use everything kind of recommended in the Redux toolkit. So Immer, Reselect, all that good stuff. And what else is in there? So the charts are made by Plotly, which has been pretty cool. There's a React Plotly library, which is, I mean, you get a lot of stuff for free right out of the box with that. I like it, but the core project has a lot more stuff that the React derivative of that does not, and that's kind of been a pain. It's just kind of like missing some features, or it's like not that well documented. But it's been really good. I like Plotly a lot.
Yeah, because well, your specialization back when we worked together, so you were working mostly on web front end. So I reckon that it does make a lot of sense if you told me that you chose Node.
Then Node on the back end. Express is the server, and then PostgreSDB for the database.
Great going.
Yeah. A lot of the crypto is done with Bcrypt. And what else is in the back end? Oh yeah, sessions issued using JOTS, which has been really nice. yeah, when they sign in and they have like a jot and you decrypt it, and it's like, okay, this is like signed information. It's not just a session token, but you can actually get non-tamperable data in it.
Mhm.
Also, is just really awesome.
Mhm.
It's helped a lot on like when you send in the session token, you don't need to like um, you just need to decrypt it, and
Mhm.
if you have the secret, like you get all this information, you don't have to do a separate database lookup. It just makes it go a lot faster. You don't have to sit like a centralized um, point of like basically like on AWS what IAM does.
Mhm.
You just kind of get to skip a lot of that,
Okay.
which is kind of cool.
Yeah, which is great.
Um,
So I reckon that
yeah.
is there any particular reason why you had to model sessions on the backend? Because I mean, most web frameworks have some version of that. But I figure that if we get a financial data kind of related app going on here, I reckon that you may have more considerations about safeguarding the user session and all that. Did you have any considerations like those, or maybe it's just part of the conventional stack that you're getting now?
Oh, as opposed to just like putting it in cookies and just having like a
Yeah, there may be sometimes you may actually need to model the session on the backend because maybe you gotta have some kind of logic about, oh, so no more than two devices can be logged on at the same time, all of that kind of stuff. So I was just wondering if that was the case.
well, the backend issues it. Like, so if you sign in, you send in username, password, and then it
Mhm.
looks that up in the database, and then it issues a jot. It signs it with a secret, um, and then it sends it back. And then on the front end, like you save that just like you would any other sort of session token.
Mhm.
And then every request subsequently includes the jot. If it's and I'm saying job, it's because it's on a
JWT.
web token,
Yeah.
JWT. It says like right in the first paragraph of the spec that it's supposed to be pronounced jot because they knew there'd be like a lot of people who would. But I know a lot of people who like still call it JWT, but
Yeah.
I'm jot's just monosyllabic, so that's
Yeah.
what I'm going with.
Tomato, tomato, herbal ways. So
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, if you get that jot sent down to the front end, like it's not just a session token. It's not just like a big string that's totally worthless. It's base 64 encoded
Mhm.
information, and you can just decode that, and you can get some data out of there. So if you send it down, you can get like uh, the user ID and I don't know anything else that's kind of interesting, username,
Mhm.
to like render at the top or something like that. And if you go to like the profile page, maybe you want additional things. So
Mhm.
you'll go back to the back end and get user details. Um, but
Mhm.
you don't need to just like kind of send in with the request the user ID
Mhm.
based off of the token. You just send the token itself. And then when you decode the jot on the back end, it says like, yeah, that was valid. That came from like we signed that when it came back. We decoded it, and I know that we signed that, and it was not tampered with, or else we could not have decoded it.
Mhm.
And then when you decode it, it's also got like the
Mhm.
user ID right
Mhm.
there, so you don't need to send it in like sideways. In addition to the session token, or you don't need to take that session token and like look it up in the database and see like which user is this. It's just right there.
Mhm. Yeah, and additionally, you can include so much other information that may be of use to the client, like information about the user or whichever other information. You just get a JSON out of that, so you can use it on the client side, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. So
exactly.
great going though. Great going on choosing JSON Web Token because it works pretty nicely. So well,
Yeah, yeah, I've been a big fan.
so let's say, so you already chose the stack and you already got this vision of the app in mind. So how did the process of coming from idea to fruition look like to you?
Yeah, I really like pen and paper. So like when I start a project, it always starts with pen and paper.
Mhm.
It's really just like a notebook, like typically like a legal pad, and I just draw out on the page like what it's kind of supposed to look like, and then I'll just iterate over and over with that, and then kind of like have some call outs, like I'll circle a button and then put a line off to the side in the margin and just be like, this is gonna, um, kind of like
Mm-hmm.
what sort of information that's going to need to trigger something. If that's like a comment or something, like what data will I need with that? And it's kind of just like a sketch. And then I start writing onto the page like data dependencies, or anything like that, or kind of highlighting like high risk areas,
Mm-hmm.
or whatever. And then, yeah, just kind of keep building the visual image and then
Mm-hmm.
start to parlay that into the data model. And
Mm-hmm.
then I think once I get kind of something that works together, like, yes, I like the look of this, start building the database off of that and thinking like, how many requests deep am I going to need for this? And then that kind of informs like, um, what the database is going to be. Like I chose Postgres for this.
Mm-hmm.
I also had Mongo on my mind.
Mm-hmm.
There's a
Look,
lot of like,
great going on Postgres though. Yeah.
yeah, it's boring tech, but it's reliable and it's been there forever. It's super fast. Like I've had a really great time with it.
Like some parts of your stack,
Yeah,
the more boring they are, the better. For some parts of your stack, you want the most boring technology possible because uh,
yeah,
nothing particularly wrong with relational design, relational database design, and nothing particularly wrong with SQL. Like Mongo and NoSQLs also have a lot of nice things about them, but again, you just have to be critical about that kind of stuff. And in my opinion, if you can
yeah,
model it with a relational database, which is tried and true, and it runs in production in thousands of places, in this case, it scales massively and globally and all that. So why not, right? Like,
yeah. I mean, like 100%. It's tried and true, and that was a reason why I was kind of looking at it. But to be honest, I was right on the edge of going to Mongo,
mm-hmm,
just because like kind of the shape of the data. And I'm still kind of like, I'm happy with the choice, but I'm at this point right now where I'm adding more features and everything, and it's getting to the point where like social data is just not super friendly. First off,
mm-hmm,
let's say like somebody takes a position. So a position is like there's a table for positions,
mm-hmm,
um, and then it has a user ID, or sorry, positions have account IDs. Users have accounts. Accounts have positions.
mm-hmm,
Accounts also have cache. That's just a number.
mm-hmm,
Um, but so that if anybody wants to like reset, they can like archive their account and just kind of like kick it to the side and, hey, I want to try again. I've lost all my money. So like your positions, and cache and everything are not tied to a user. They're just an account.
mm-hmm,
But if you have an account, or sorry, a position, maybe it gets some likes or something like that, or better yet is like I'm implementing comments this weekend. So
mm-hmm,
there's a user and, or let's say Alfredo makes a position and then
mm-hmm,
James comes and comments on it. And then Alfredo likes that comment. Like you have
mm-hmm,
to make so many queries for that to work.
mm-hmm,
Um, or like not even queries. It's not even like you can just have this on the back end. Like a lot of this is happening at the application layer. So like you'll
mm-hmm,
fetch down first, like, okay, we've got a session token. Now let's go get this user details. And now that we've got that, or we can kind of skip that one because we already have the user ID from the jot. So that's cool. We've
mm-hmm,
got the user ID. So let's go fetch like maybe some feed information like that. You land on the home page and there's a big feed of positions. And then given all these positions, go get the likes for all of them. And then go get all the likes that the signed in user has, because if you've liked a position, you can't like it a second time. So if
mm-hmm,
you need to know the status of like, if you click on the like button, will that unlike it? So is that going to remove something from a table or is that going to add something to a table?
mm-hmm,
And then you get the comments for each of those positions. And then for each of those comments, you get, again, likes
mm-hmm.
for every user and then this user. And you can see like how you have to like, this is, you have to fetch all of this serially. Like, you have to wait for the list of positions from the feed. And then when that returns on the front end, you need to go get all the likes for those positions. And then you need to get the comments for those positions too. Now that you have all these comments, you have to get the likes for that. And it's just like, there may be a way to do this easier that is in NoSQL, but it's not super apparent because there's so many ways that you can come at it. Like I don't think you can just have like there's other views of it too. If you build one model, it'll have to take a different shape in another view of that same information in a different part of the website that you'll end up just querying a bunch still. So
yeah, that was I was thinking about something related to that, because those kinds of things are the kind of details that you have to model in a certain way, just so you don't end up like, for example, if you were to use, I don't know if you use any ORM or anything of the sort, but if you use an ORM, and depending on the relationships of your entities on the system, you actually may end up so you have the application layer generate a certain view, and for a certain view you may instruct it and say, okay, so fetch all of the likes for all of the comments that are going to go here. But sometimes that can be a massive strain on the database, and there's like very little details, very little gotchas that one has to avoid to fall into those kinds of things.
100%. And sometimes it's just unavoidable. Like there's no clean way to model that without getting into, like, social data is just kind of nasty in general. I've been looking at GraphQL. I've heard good things, and that you can get around some of those gotchas, like making these boutique endpoints for every single like little interaction and speeding up the retrieval of that. I don't know. I've heard good things. I haven't tried it before, but that's definitely on my roadmap to try and get going, because I've put in some like little hacks. Like it's bad data modeling, but like if you make a comment, the way that I'm modeling it right now is that if you make a comment, then it'll send up your profile picture and username with the comment. And you shouldn't do that, right? Because what if you change your username or profile picture? Your comment is going to stick with that, and it's not going to be updated. So you should be looking at fresh every time. But honestly, like with the amount of money I'm willing to spend on like server fees and stuff like that, like it's just going to make the page, something's going to go wrong. Like the page performance is just going to be too slow, and I'm not going to want to spin up like more
more instances, more servers.
More dynos. I guess I'm on Heroku. So more dynos.
Sweet, great going on Heroku. I really like Heroku.
I love Heroku. Heroku's been super easy, and there's just all these add-ons if you want to like, just out of the box logging, or man, it's been really sweet. I love Heroku.
So you know how Heroku has a lot of actual. There's a bunch of events that they hold throughout the year, and a certain part of the staff has this kind of culture about it. So I've heard, and the Heroku people are the Ruby on Rails people in part, right? And they always had this idea that Heroku has to be omakase. So you may have heard that, right? Like in a sushi place and stuff, right?
Not too much. I don't really follow the Heroku. Definitely not the Ruby. I hate Ruby.
I know that Ruby is quite the misunderstood beast, and I know as much. But omakase means when you walk into a sushi place, you can ask the sushi chef with decades of expertise and all that. You know how they get, right? So you can ask them, I just want the omakase, and with that you actually mean, I just trust in your judgment. So I trust that you will give me the best possible product. So Heroku has always had that, is the core tenet that's behind Heroku, that Heroku has to be omakase. That's why everything is just so simple, and it's just so like, it just works so nicely, because they make it a goal to themselves to actually, if our developers are not having an omakase, experience. Wait,
Right.
I don't want to have to worry about setting up a server, setting up an instance, setting up a database. I just want it given to me. So they actually hold that as a goal, and I've always loved that about Heroku.
Yeah,
and Ruby on Rails is the same too.
Ruby on Rails convention over configuration.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it is cool. I do like that. I've tried Ruby on Rails. I think I've.
I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, though. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I liked how it stands up really fast. I think I did like a couple like little tutorials, and like crash course book on it, and then just kind of like went through and step by step, like, okay, here's how Rake works and everything. And it was cool. I really liked how I was able to stand up like a full app, like really fast inside like 10, 15, 20 minutes. Like that was pretty awesome. But yeah, there was like a lot of automagical kind of machinations, and I'm like, how do I find this out? And I guess like it's cool that you get going really fast, but then it's just like everything else. Like you're not going to know how to really customize things or get really good at it until you become a master. And so you're kind of in the first place. Like the learning curve is like, you kind of get like a little jump at the beginning, but then it's just exactly the same slope as everything else.
Yeah. Which I like. I like the fact that Rails gives you that, because it gets you that dopamine shock. Like, oh yes, I did something, and that actually motivates you to keep going, because like, oh, I can do more with Ruby on Rails. But you do hit the snags. Ruby on Rails makes you hit the snags quite early, I would say. And also, and for example, the ORM in Ruby on Rails, it is very prone to, for example, N+1 queries and all that. Because if you talk about Rails with so many people in the industry, they're gonna go on record with, but Rails doesn't scale, bro. But Rails is a toy framework. And I mean, I know why they say that. I think that it does scale, but and not to mention that premature optimization is the root of all evil. Always remember that, But people. That's why people get so much fodder to actually say that.
Like, it scales well enough. Like, I'm not going to bash on Rails to the point like beyond reason. It's not my cup of tea. I really don't like the syntax in Ruby personally. But I won't say like it's trash and like you shouldn't use it. Like there's if it's your cup of tea, go ahead and use it. And like the thing about scaling, if it'll scale to like 100,000 users, probably it's not gonna without any sort of special, unless you have like a really complicated or like poorly thought out data model, you should be able to scale to like 100,000 users easy. And ask anybody of your friends, like, how many users do you have? 100,000? Because if you have 100,000 users, you can probably raise capital to rebuild the whole thing. It's like faster if you're like really need to scale. I'm like stoked on Value Machine having like it's got less than 1,000 users, and I'm still like blowing up. But I'm not worried about like scaling too much. That's pretty big for me, just having like a side hustle, like a small little website where a couple people go. If you're like, oh, it doesn't scale, like I need a website that's going to scale to like billions of users. It's like, I mean, worry about getting those users first. Worry about getting your first 100,000 until your Rails app doesn't scale anymore.
Exactly. And then you can just start replacing APIs or whichever with other services under the hood and all that. So yeah, I definitely agree with that. Because again, there's so many developers that get so hung up on, oh, but you gotta make everything scale. You gotta optimize it down to the last very detail. And no, premature optimization, bro. Always remember that. Well, not to go too much on a tangent, but yeah, and all of that stuff about technology. It's just the way that I always seen it is that it's just technology. Different languages are just different tools for different jobs. So you have to be critical about what you use. What matters is to get something done, is to get something out of the door, is to ship something, to get those users, like you said. So yeah, so kudos on having the mentality that what matters is to get those users first.
Yeah, thanks. I'm 100% there with you. Like if you, I'm just really focused on like getting things done and getting something that works. And like
Mhm.
people argue about the implementation of like, oh, but this is like slightly slower or something like that. It's like we're losing a whole mutex lock on this. It's like,
Mhm.
yeah, I guess we could optimize this, but the page looks fine. Like I'm
Mhm.
clicking around, I don't see any problems. Like let's just move on.
No, it's just a slow but steady process of improvement where maybe at a certain point you're gonna determine that it's gonna be a bottleneck. But once you have to scale your system, or once you already got investor money on board and they're trying
Yeah.
to make it scale and all that stuff.
Well, that
So,
being said, there have been some scaling issues, and I'm kind of like even like with a smaller number, I am like kind of rebuilding some of the stuff. Like I have these some of the components in React are just gigantic, and
huh?
like I'm breaking them out into smaller pieces and making them pure components
Mhm.
um, where possible, so they don't update until they get
Mhm.
new props or state. Like there's a number of things I'm trying to do to cut down because there's like a bunch of data. Like you ship down all this, um, especially like the intraday prices or daily end of day prices, like for the charts.
Mhm.
If you have like opening bell to closing bell of a single day for one price ticker is like 9:30 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Mhm.
Um, minute by minute.
Mhm.
So 60 times that number of hours. And maybe you're invested in like 12 different stocks or something like that. So you have like a ton of um, pricing data in the front end.
Mhm.
And just kind of rendering those can be like a hassle.
Mhm.
So I have been, or some people have this huge history of trades or something like that. I have been like trying to make the pages like a little bit cleaner. It definitely was like a mad dash to like, I just want to get something out there. I just want to get this product in people's hands.
Mhm.
And now it's kind of going back and like, all right, now let's make it a little bit more performant, or
Mhm.
like just kind of going back and filling in just missing features too. You can't
Mhm.
reset your password right now, which is kind of an issue.
Mhm.
Um, it's
Yeah, but it has
yeah,
social login though.
yeah, it has social login, but if you sign in with username and password, there's two strategies. There's Facebook strategy or username password,
Mhm.
um, or local strategy. So if you do local strategy and you forget your password, um, I just don't have a pass. Like you just email and I kind of like resolve it for you on a one-off basis right now. And that is kind of that. Like it's a work in progress, but there are like a little like kind of like missing functionalities that would make a site like good, and I'm still just kind of building those because I just launched recently. But at the beginning I was like, who needs password reset? Let's focus on the meat and potatoes of this project.
let's just
But
get
now it's kind of
let's just get people trading.
yeah, exactly. And a lot of people are trading, and then a couple people email and be like, "Yeah, I actually need to reset my password." I'm like, "Sorry, man, I'm working on it. I'll get to you. I'll get to you soon."
Yeah, but that's interesting. So those are the main bottlenecks that you have sort of seen for the app. But however, something maybe I would like to use this as a little bit of a seg to because I got a little bit curious about now that we're talking about trading in the app itself.
Yeah,
So you actually have to fetch financial data and to make sure that people are trading against it. And so I guess there's probably a fair bit of complexity there. So I wanted to ask you how does that look like for the application?
yeah. There's a good amount of complexity for like a number of reasons. One, just kind of like there is a bunch of nuance to financial data. Being one of those reasons. And another reason is I'm a huge cheapskate and like am just going with the absolute bare bottom um, strategy to get options pricing out there.
Well, not
So
not to
options,
mention that it's just paper trading. So for those kinds of things, it's usually fine to get data that's not
yeah,
exactly as precise as right or
yeah,
or, or
yeah, for sure.
whichever.
I mean, it's not going to be perfect with relation to like the real thing, but it's going to be like pretty close. Like I don't actually buy. So stock prices are not super like protected. Like
Mm-hmm.
you still have to pay for them, but it's not like a closely guarded secret. Everyone sells them. They're pretty cheap. I go to IEX for the stock prices.
Okay.
And then I get like intradaily prices, which is the minute by minute stuff. And then
Mm-hmm.
end of day, like historical, I support up to 1 year. And then anytime somebody requests that sort of data, um, I will look up what I have in the database, and then whatever I'm missing, like I'll just request exactly that amount of missing data from IEX. And then on like return of that, I'll update the database with what I got
Mm-hmm.
and then send back everything to the user. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
like really lean about what I'm paying for when I go to IEX, and just caching everything in my database. So hopefully, like I don't need to overspend on that. And then say like inside 1 minute, somebody wants all of the Tesla prices for the day,
Mm-hmm.
and then I go get them, cache them in the database. And then a second later, somebody else wants all those Tesla prices. I'll look them up and say like, hey, given the time right now, and given everything I just pulled from the database, this is everything that we're expecting. So no need to go to IEX. Just have that.
Mm-hmm.
So that is pretty cool.
Yeah, but
How
that's
I was able to
interesting.
do
So you determine if the data is fresh enough, and depending on that, you actually call IEX and you get new data from that. I'm not surprised that there's a business model in this. But how? Well, I don't know if it's some kind of restricted data or anything. But how does the pricing work in IEX?
Yeah, different people have different prices and pricing models. IEXs is kind of like they go by data weight. So it's
Mm-hmm.
not kilobyte, or it's not like the amount of data. It's kind of like a multiplier of how much data and how much they paid for it.
Mm-hmm.
So like some stuff is like, oh, you just want like the live quote of some US traded equity. Like that's
Mm-hmm.
pretty cheap. It's just like a single symbol, single point in time, and there's not much data there. Or like a list of all of the currently traded symbols that they
Mm-hmm.
support. That's pretty cheap. It's the same. It doesn't change very often. It's probably really well cached.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and they just send out this big list. Even though it's like a lot of data, I think they support like something like 8,000 symbols. Um, it's pretty cheap to get that. But other things, which is like a really small amount of data, can be really expensive. Like on the premium side, like stock splits.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, like that's the premium data. You cannot get it if you're not paying them money.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and you pay for like a base of like, some, I forget what they call them, units or something like that, some sort of like data weight uh, kind of unit. But you get like 2 million if you pay $9 a month, and then every million after that is like an additional dollar or something.
Okay.
And you can kind of scale that up, but it's I don't know, it's pretty cheap. I've never even been close to running over my allotted amount, and it's like $9 a month. So that's cheap. I'm 100% happy with that. It's pretty reliable. I get some like failed requests semi-common from them, which sucks. I need to like write in some logic to like retry requests. I haven't done that yet, but
Mm-hmm.
um, it just shows an error on the user page, and then they retry, and then it typically resolves second time. The expensive part is the options stuff, and I never could even find any options data that was cheap enough that I could consider like, yeah, um, I can spend money on this, and this is going to be an amount of money that I'm comfortable with. Like I just never found that.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, well, I can find um, volatility data, and then I can take that and I can calculate the price based off of the volatility and then the current stock price.
Mm-hmm.
And that will give me a pretty good estimate of what the price of the option is. And it's not like there have been some cases where it's like a decent amount off. But it's pretty close a lot of the time. Like
Mm-hmm.
I did a bunch of tests just to try and like various stocks from various sectors, uh, in and out of the money, strikes, different expiration dates, and it kind of like it gets to be pretty close when you're like in the middle of a lot of those. But if you're pretty extreme on one side of it, then that can get kind of like less accuracy. If you have like leaps or like
Mhm.
really long dated options, if it expires in 2 years, like yeah, it's going to be less accurate. Or if it
Mhm.
expires in like 30 minutes, that's also
Mhm.
going to be less accurate. But if it expires in like 3 weeks, it'll probably be pretty accurate. Or if you
So
have like a strike price that's just like 500% the current stock price, like okay, yeah, that
mhm.
might be um, that might not be similar to what the market is. I mean, it's probably going to be like 1 cent if it's a call, but
So for some options you estimate the price then according to that criteria. But is there any particular like methods? I remember that you mentioned that you calculated a certain percentage, but any other particular method or how what does it entail?
yeah, it's calculated using the Black-Scholes equation.
And
So it's pretty well documented.
what is that though?
Uh, some guys in the 70s, Black-Scholes, and then I think independently another guy named Merton, um, came up with this strategy, this equation for pricing options,
Mm-hmm.
and it looks pretty complicated.
Hmm.
It kind of is to a certain degree.
Oh, but no.
But basically, you plug in your volatility, your strike price, days till expiration, all that good stuff, and then it'll price the option for you, and say this option is worth this much money.
Oh, but no worries though. I mean, yeah, from what I can see, roughly browsing a little bit of it, yeah, it looks like it is fairly complex. But I'm gonna look into it a little bit more later.
Yeah,
I had no idea that Black Shoals existed though. So.
yeah. And I would love to get off of that. So one, this like makes it a little bit slower, like performance wise. If you open up an options chain, I'll have like all these implied volatilities for whatever position you're looking at, um, or like whatever symbol plus expiration date and everything. And then on the end user's computer, it'll calculate those.
Mhm.
So that's page performance that could have been going into just rendering the rest of the page.
Mhm.
I would like to just get the raw prices, but I'm still shopping around. I'm still reaching out to people because I want more accurate data. This gives like a pretty good representation, but I'm still trying to improve.
Yeah, but definitely, and even so, and even more when it actually has a certain price to make calls for that data. So yeah, so you definitely want to optimize here, at least for this, and 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 for again for paper trading or for a trading app where people are the reason why they use it is just to sort of learn how to trade and all that. So
Yeah,
data, it will be very nice to have like the data from another source and such, but usually if you can sort of make a compromise and provide people with estimates through, for example, Black Scholes or whichever, that's usually fine for that kind of application. So.
typically, yeah, and it's continuous. It's like a pretty good model. It's what people would expect.
Mhm.
So like if you buy something and the price of the stock goes up, like your options are going to go up. If they go
Mhm.
down, your price is going to go down if you're buying calls.
Mhm.
That's what you're going to see on the real market, and like the exact amounts, they might be a little bit off, but it's it's a good simulation. Like it's pretty close.
No, and it's really cool to hear about this because it means that at a certain point, well, you had to sort of uh, reflect for a bit of time on what to implement and what kind of mix. It's a series of mixing and matching, and just so maybe I'm gonna compromise here and I'm gonna do such, and it has a lot of value to listen to all of those decisions. Um,
Yeah, it definitely introduced a lot of bugs and complexity that I am not a huge fan of. Like there's this bug where options pricing was not coming in, like the data dependencies weren't there. The price for like the most recent price for a stock or something might come in as zero
Mhm.
because like the network request hasn't come back yet or something like that. And I wanted it, it's requiring like I pass it some number so it doesn't crash. So I give it zero. And then they're just, the equation like values it as if the price of the stock was
Mhm.
zero. So then it's like, oh, if you had a put and if you bought puts and the price of the stock fell down to zero, that's just worth whatever the stock is, times 100.
Yeah.
And so people were like, this one guy just I don't know how he like kept on. He found out how to like reproduce the bug pretty reliably. It had to do with like updating or like refreshing the page based off of the time because it would like kick off a new request to IEX. And he would like keep doing that. And he just abused the shit out of this bug until he made like $18 trillion or something like that. And I was like, wow, it's pretty good. You got me, man.
Like,
um,
bro, he unlocked Wall Street mode. So.
yeah, yeah, max leverage. I got that fixed ultimately just by kind of like overlaying like, hey, there's like a problem with data fetching. Just retry. But that was a huge thorn in my side. Was like and it came from options. Like it came from the price of the options being dependent on multiple sources of data,
Mhm.
like not just the implied volatilities, but also the stock price, the underlying stock price. Um, and then that was kind of a headache that I would
Mhm. No.
have really wrong priced
Mhm.
options because of that. So I would love to get some actual like kind of quotes, but I'm still shopping around to see if I can replace that in the future.
Mhm. That was quite a war story right there with with Bloody Machine and so and the fact that somebody found all of the a bug in the system. So maybe
Yeah.
what other have you got anything similar to that? Any other things that have happened with your you know with Bloody Machine?
um, Not like I mean, it was kind of funny to see the guy who like got all the money and then YOLO'd it on some other options and made some more and
Your
just
low
leveraged
it.
that up over and over again.
And
Um,
I love
I
this
think a
the
couple
slogan that you
people.
came out with. This is the app to come to YOLO your virtual money once you YOLO it already on Robinhood. That was
Thanks.
hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah. I like to set the tone when people show up like, this is a game. This is not financial advice right here.
Uh-huh.
Um, but yeah, a couple people have done that. But I think like as far as like just kind of interacting with people or like, um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, interacting with the community, it's been cool. Like, a lot of people have messaged me like, this is really awesome, thank you for this. People have like pointed out bugs and been super helpful. One guy went as far as he was like opening up Redux DevTools. He was like looking at the messages and he's like, hey man, here's a bug report. He just like messaged on Reddit. He's like, here's the bug report. Here's like the Redux action that fired, I think that was like the root of it.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the network request that was associated. Got this error. It shouldn't have been. And I was like, this is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to work with me on this? Like, he just was like so on top of it, and just as like a user, like never seen the source code at all. He just started diving into like debugging the site. Um, People have been really awesome for the most part. You'll always get some people who kind of like the naysayers, complaining about this or that, but it's like, how much can you complain? It's a free app.
And I'm very glad to hear all of this because it definitely proves that if you build it, they will come. The proverbial. And a lot of people don't really believe that, but I mean, you started promoting the app, you started getting people on board, and it seems that you create a little bit of a space. People are getting into it, which is pretty cool. And
Yeah.
what about
Well, I'm glad they're coming
how,
to the site because I definitely have built other things where they did not show up. If they like it, I guess I will tack that on. I've definitely built things where um, people were less excited about it. So it's cool to see that there's good feedback this time.
And what have you been doing, by the way, in terms of promotion, in terms of getting the app out there into the eyes of people? So, have you purchased ads on Facebook or something of the sort?
No, I haven't done any ads. I think like the first 20 users were like friends and family,
Uh-huh.
just asking people to check it out. Friends and family turned out not to be like great as far as like initial user feedback because none of my friends or family like were into options trading at all.
Mhm.
And I'd show it to somebody and be like, sign up, please check it out. And they're like kind of doing the polite thing, like, sure, yeah, let's see what you got going. They'd open it up and be like,
Yeah, they're gonna be like,
okay,
good going, and
I don't get it. And I'm like, well, I mean, like, what kind of options do you want to buy? Like, what positions do you think would be good right now, given the market? And have you heard any good hype? Like, are you going to short Nicola or what? And they'd just kind of be like, I don't know what's going on. So that was probably like bad feedback, or not bad, but like just inaccurate. It just wasn't like the target audience.
Mhm.
Yeah, I wasn't getting anything like super constructive. I think it was only like when I started releasing it to people who like knew how to options trade, and that I would get good feedback. But that wasn't until like my first time I got users who were like actually excited about it. I posted on uh, Reddit,
Ready, I
the
recall. Yeah.
yeah options subreddit, and that was like just this week. So when it's the duration of time that it's been in the hands of people who like actually give a shit about investing, um, is like 1 week pretty much. It's
Mhm.
been a very short amount of time. But yeah, I haven't bought any ads, but I posted it on r/options, and that turned out pretty well. That was my most successful
Mhm.
post. And then I posted it on Wall Street Bets, which I thought would be like more popular. It's a bigger sub. It's like 5 times bigger than r/options. It's like 1.5 million people. It's huge,
Mhm.
and it just kind of has the same sort of feel. It's it doesn't really take it seriously. It's just kind of a joke.
Mhm.
Uses words like
It's something that's
YOLO.
not very serious, and it's an opportunity for learning too at the same time, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah, and I think a lot of the people are like a lot more casual about it on Wall Street Bets. So you'll have a. I thought there were going to be a lot more people who were like, yeah, I don't even have a brokerage account. I've never even bought any. I just kind of like looking at this stuff. Oh, here's something where I can like there's social sign in, and you
Mhm.
don't need to go through like any like know your customer, anti-money laundering sort of stuff to actually get a brokerage account. I could just click on the Facebook button. Cool. That really wasn't the case. People on r/options were a lot more excited. I think the tolerance for risk is just so high on Wall Street Bets that people were kind of like, no, I've already YOLO'd all my money. I'm serious about this. Like, let's go. I don't have time for this paper trading bullshit. Um,
Yeah, I've
but
heard about the community Wall Street Bets. There's been
yeah,
quite a lot of stories.
it's something else. It's a fun place.
Yeah.
The least showing of all of them is r/web dev. So just kind of like, hey, here's something that I built. Like, you can only post on like self promote your stuff on Show Off Saturday. So you tag it with that flair, and then you post it, and people check it out. Yeah, like single digit upvotes. It has not been a huge turnout for that one. But I was getting like hundreds of upvotes um, for the other two. So yeah, I'm going to probably keep trying to do that sort of promotion strategy, just kind of post it on different social media. I've got an Instagram that I post memes on, just kind of like repost memes.
Nice.
Um, so I've got that going for me. I've been thinking about doing like a YouTube channel where I just kind of like teach
Mhm.
different strategies, and then I'll link back to the site and say like, yeah, no, now that try it out here. Um, and then also like collaborations with other publishers or content creators.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, it's only been going on like the official promotional period has only been going on for like a week or something like that now, but it's decent. I feel like there's some traction, and I've got a bunch of options to exhaust before I run out of ideas. So yeah, been going pretty well.
And by the way, thinking about the path forward. By the way, so come 5 years time, how would you like to see Value Machine doing then? Like, I mean, I know that for a lot of people, they don't really want their side hustle to become like their main gig, but I don't know, maybe will that work for you, or how is it looking for you?
I don't know. Like honestly, I can't really see that far forward right now. It seems like it's popular and growing, so that's cool. I hope to keep
Next six
people
months or
using
so.
it. Yeah, I hope it still remains a thing. As far as like stepping it up into something bigger, it's really difficult to monetize. I'm not really sure how to do that right now. Like with the amount of users I'm getting, there's just no chance I could make it um, like very profitable. I think if you get like 100,000 monthly users or something like that, you can be making at like 20 cents CPM.
Mm-hmm.
That's like what, $5
Mm-hmm.
per month. So like that's not really going to pay rent. That's not going to pay the mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
It's that one's kind of out of the question. Affiliate marketing is, I don't know, signing up for people for like brokerage accounts or something like that. I don't know if that's
Mm-hmm.
something that people would even sign up for. It might be. That seems like it could be the place if you're trying out a place where you only need Facebook to sign into and practice, and then you haven't signed up for your brokerage. Like maybe somebody would do that. Yeah. There's the other option to just turn it into an actual brokerage. Also, they have like
Whoa.
some services that they'll act as a backend for you, and so basically like you're just a rendering engine for telling them like your positions and everything, and they do all the SEC compliance and all that sort of stuff to make sure you're not like accidentally, you know, not giving somebody their money or giving them too much. But they'll act as a back end, and then you act as like the front end. So I could make like a Value Machine premium, and then you just pay X amount of dollars per month, and then you get unlimited options trades for free, and then you get all of the real data. It's not like me estimating with Black-Scholes. It's like real market data. So it could be like a premium model where it's just a real brokerage then. I'm not super sure where the future is going to take me. I still need to do some like thinking and chatting with some people. But right now, I just want to make it a great experience. And there's a ton of development to do in the meantime, just to really make it awesome. And then probably start to think about that monetization later.
That's a great position to be in, because at the same time, well, there's so many things that are pure potential right now. It can make one feel a little bit anxious about, well, what should we do? What can it be? But at the same time, yeah, you can just take it day by day. Just enjoy the process for now. Just enjoy the
Yeah.
ride. All that.
Yeah.
So cool. So great going on that though. And
Thanks, man.
by the way, we are a little bit close to around the hour mark of recording so far. But I wanted to ask you though, is there any other thing that you would like to cover about the app though? We've talked about the technical side of it. We've talked about the business side of it. And what is there any other observations that you would like to make?
Solo founder versus co-founder. I was going to talk about like it's just really cool to be solo.
Oh,
there's a lot of times when I made decisions and like pivoted pretty hard.
And how is that playing out like?
Being a solo founder has been awesome. I think there's a temptation in a lot of different times to try and bring someone on. Like before I was doing the promotional stuff, I was like, I'm just not a good hype man. I want somebody who just has a lot more enthusiasm than me and is just gonna be able to go out there, take customer feedback, manage the community, and just kind of do all this. Basically, like what I'm doing right now. Like, hey, Alfredo, can I come on your podcast? I want to talk about Value Machine. There would be somebody else to do that. And I don't know, a lot of the tech stuff too. Like, oh, here's a problem that's really complicated. I wish, or there's like a lot of features I need to build. I wish I had somebody else that could also build with me. It's really tempting to try and justify whatever the reason. Like, I need a co-founder because X, Y, Z. But yeah, like, I'm really glad I didn't, because there's so many situations where I had to take like a big change in what I was doing. Like, I started off with a Python server first. It was Flask. And then at one point I was just like, fuck Flask. I hate this. Deployment sucks. Just handling JSON sucks. Everything about this is terrible. And so I just started over completely, and I rewrote the entire thing in Node. If I had like a co-founder, they would probably be like, no, they might have said, no, let's just push through and do everything in Flask. We've already come this far. And I just don't want to have that fight, or like, I had some ideas for like, I don't think that we should be doing, the positions are like, they're like more nouns. Like if you're trading on like a brokerage, if you make a trade, that is just an adjustment to your account. Your account has positions in cash. And I was like, I want to switch this so it's more like, instead of a modifier of an account, it stands by itself. It's standalone. And then you can put those nouns, no longer verbs, but nouns. They stand alone. You can't sell like half of your position. If you open a position for 50 like stocks, you can't sell 25 of them. They're only open and closed. And that was like a decision that I made, that I was like, this is going to transform it into like an Instagram kind of feed, or a Facebook kind of feed. And I talked to like a couple people, and everyone was like, that's stupid. I don't get that. People just want to see like what they always see. And I was like, this is my big idea. And then if I had a co-founder, they might have said no, and then it would have been a fight. And I just really love having like 100% control over this.
A lot of VCs will actually tell you that implementing social features like those, like there's so many other apps on the market for, I don't know, not only for trading, for video or whichever other media, right? And they're always trying to bolt on social features onto them because it has value. So so great going on that.
Yeah.
So all of this discussion has been fantastic, by the way, James. But I think that it's this is a good time to wrap up. Minor question, maybe very briefly, perhaps, just being respectful of your time. But something that I like to ask every guest into my podcast is what's your motto? What's your if you have something to advise to people, what would you tell them?
What's my motto? Hard and fast, man. Hard and fast.
Hard and fast. Right on. That's the way things gotta get done.
All right. Thanks, man. I appreciate being on here. Take care. Right.
Thanks so much, and I'm certain that there's probably gonna be many other occasions to come onto the podcast, and so. Looking forward to that, James. And thanks for being on the show.
I hope so. Thanks again. Take care.